You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Recognition in agile environments is not about handing out endless awards or flashy tokens. It is about purposeful appreciation that reinforces the behaviors and decisions which align with principles and produce reliable outcomes. The orientation treats recognition as a system, a way to spotlight examples that embody values, translate them into stories that others can learn from, and sustain motivation without distorting what really matters. Agile thrives on transparency, honesty, and collaboration, yet these qualities can fade if they are never acknowledged. Recognition ensures they remain visible and valued, anchoring culture in real practice rather than slogans. Done well, recognition turns abstract principles into lived examples, providing reinforcement that is both human and educational. By making it part of normal work rhythms, organizations keep recognition lightweight and credible. The goal is not to inflate egos, but to reinforce learning and trust, sustaining the energy required for continuous improvement. The purpose of recognition is to link observable agile behaviors with their outcomes, showing that principle-aligned actions accelerate learning and delivery. For example, when a team slices work into small, testable increments, recognition can highlight how this thin slicing reduced integration risk and allowed earlier feedback. When someone surfaces a risk candidly rather than hiding it, recognition ties that honesty to faster mitigation and stronger trust. When status updates are frank and evidence-based, recognition emphasizes how transparency prevents downstream surprises. These connections ensure that recognition is not about politeness but about reinforcing the causal link between behaviors and results. By celebrating behaviors that directly improve flow, quality, or user impact, recognition teaches others what good looks like. Over time, the culture shifts away from rewarding activity volume toward appreciating principled behaviors that truly change outcomes. Recognition makes abstract values real, visible, and repeatable. Balancing intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is critical. Agile teams rely heavily on intrinsic drivers: pride in craftsmanship, autonomy, and growth. Recognition nurtures these drivers by affirming that the work is valued and visible. For example, a simple thank you for a well-executed rollback reassures people that resilience matters as much as speed. Extrinsic rewards, such as tokens or small gifts, can supplement but must be used carefully. If overemphasized, they risk steering behavior toward vanity outcomes, doing work for the prize rather than for its principle-aligned value. The most durable recognition comes from appreciation, learning opportunities, and empowerment. A chance to share a lesson in a community forum may matter more than a gift card. The balance ensures that recognition sustains authentic motivation while avoiding distortions. By prioritizing intrinsic drivers and supporting them with thoughtful extrinsic touches, organizations maintain fairness, credibility, and resilience in their recognition systems. Behavior-based criteria create fairness and predictability in recognition programs. Instead of vague compliments, recognition calls out specific, observable actions. For example, criteria might include evidence-backed decisions where data, not assumption, shaped trade-offs, clean rollbacks that preserved user trust, or cross-boundary collaboration that resolved dependencies early. These behaviors are principle-aligned, repeatable, and visible. By naming them, recognition avoids favoritism or noise. Teams know what is valued and why. This clarity also guides nominators, ensuring they highlight meaningful contributions rather than generic effort. Over time, behavior-based criteria set cultural expectations. It is not enough to be busy. What matters is acting in ways that protect flow, reduce risk, and deliver value responsibly. Predictability strengthens trust, as recognition feels earned and principled, rather than arbitrary. This discipline ensures that recognition reinforces the behaviors that actually improve outcomes, rather than surface-level activity or charisma. Outcome alignment keeps recognition tethered to results, not just actions. While behaviors are the focus, recognition programs link them explicitly to user impact, flow stability, or risk reduction. For example, a team might be recognized not simply for integrating early, but for preventing a costly defect that would have delayed release. A colleague who improves documentation is recognized for cutting onboarding time, not just for writing words. This alignment prevents recognition from devolving into output metrics or activity counts. It also provides compelling stories that resonate across teams. This behavior produced this outcome. Linking recognition to outcomes reinforces learning and helps people see the value of acting from principles. Over time, this practice teaches the organization to judge behaviors not in isolation, but by their tangible effects on delivery. Outcome alignment ensures recognition is practical, educational, and motivational all at once. Inclusivity and equity commitments ensure that recognition does not disproportionately favor the loudest voices or those closest to leadership. Without deliberate safeguards, quieter contributors, distributed team members, or those in less visible roles can be overlooked. Equity means tracking participation to ensure broad representation and widening nominator pools, so appreciation flows from peers as well as managers. For example, a back-end engineer who prevents recurring outages deserves as much recognition as a product owner presenting in demos. By making inclusivity explicit, recognition reinforces fairness and belonging. Equity also reduces resentment, as teams see that recognition is balanced and not biased toward proximity or personality. Over time, inclusive practices build a stronger culture where everyone trusts that principle-aligned contributions will be noticed. Recognition becomes a collective reinforcement system, not a selective spotlight, ensuring motivation and trust extend across the whole team. Balancing team and individual recognition is another essential dimension. Agile values collaboration, so celebrating collective wins like integrated demos, incident recoveries, or shared delivery milestones reinforces shared responsibility. At the same time, standout enabling contributions such as an engineer who designs a resilient migration path deserve acknowledgement without overshadowing the group. The balance ensures that individuals feel valued while teams are recognized for collective achievement. For example, recognition might highlight a team's smooth recovery from an outage, while also appreciating the individual who improved the monitoring system that made it possible. By honoring both, organizations prevent hero culture while still motivating individuals. This practice reinforces that agile success is both collective and enabled by specific contributions. Over time, this balance strengthens cohesion, reducing competition while encouraging ownership. Recognition becomes a harmonized system that values the group and the individual within it. Peer recognition channels increase both frequency and authenticity of appreciation. Instead of waiting for formal reviews, colleagues can thank one another in real time for specific, principle-aligned behaviors. These channels might include chat integrations, digital badges, or lightweight forms. For example, a developer might thank a tester for surfacing a risk early, visible to the whole team. Peer-driven recognition decentralizes appreciation, reducing reliance on top-down visibility. It also spreads cultural reinforcement, as recognition circulates laterally and frequently. Authenticity grows because peers witness the day-to-day choices and behaviors that leadership may miss. Over time, peer channels make recognition continuous, turning small acts into cultural reinforcement. This habit normalizes gratitude and strengthens trust, making agile values part of daily interactions rather than occasional ceremonies. Peer recognition democratizes appreciation, ensuring it reflects the lived reality of teamwork. Timing and cadence ensure that recognition is both frequent enough to reinforce behaviors and restrained enough to avoid noise. Quick micro-recognitions, such as a same-day thank you in chat, deliver immediate reinforcement while memories are fresh. Periodic highlight rounds, such as end-of-sprint appreciations or monthly compilations, create reflection and visibility without overwhelming channels. For example, teams might compile a short recognition reel at the end of a release cycle, highlighting specific actions and outcomes. The blend of quick and periodic cadence sustains energy and ensures stories travel, too infrequent, and recognition feels absent, too frequent, and it loses meaning. By calibrating rhythm, organizations sustain credibility and attention. Over time, cadence becomes part of the cultural heartbeat, ensuring recognition is timely, resonant, and sustainable. The narrative style of recognition turns it into a teaching tool. Instead of simply naming who did what, stories explain the context, the choice, and the effect. For example, recognition might read, "During integration, Maya proposed splitting the feature into smaller slices. This reduced cycle time, prevented rework, and allowed us to demo earlier." This storytelling approach reinforces not just gratitude but learning. It makes behaviors portable, allowing others to apply them in different contexts. Narratives also create memorable cultural anchors, as teams recall specific examples when facing dilemmas. Over time, storytelling transforms recognition into collective teaching moments, embedding agile values deeper. The narrative style makes recognition more than applause. It makes it instruction, motivation, and cultural reinforcement rolled into one. Remote-friendly recognition ensures that distributed contributors experience equal visibility and dignity. Practices include concise written shoutouts, brief audio notes, or highlighting contributions in asynchronous updates. For example, a remote engineer who improved system monitoring may be recognized in a global update with context and thanks, not buried in local discussions. Equal visibility prevents distributed members from becoming invisible and ensures recognition is equitable across geographies. Remote-friendly approaches also produce durable records, reinforcing knowledge capture. By embedding inclusivity into recognition, organizations strengthen trust and morale across locations. Over time, this ensures that distributed teams feel equally valued, sustaining cohesion in global or hybrid environments. Recognition becomes a unifying force rather than a point of inequity. Risk-aware boundaries clarify that safety, ethics, and compliance are non-negotiable. Recognition never normalizes rule-bending in the name of speed. For example, cutting corners on testing to meet a deadline may appear productive in the short term, but undermines quality and safety. Awareness programs ensure recognition focuses on principled behaviors, not reckless shortcuts. By making these boundaries explicit, organizations preserve integrity and trust. Recognition becomes a tool for reinforcing both agility and responsibility, showing that values coexist with ethics. Over time, this discipline prevents misalignment and reassures stakeholders that cultural reinforcement never excuses harm. By embedding risk-aware guardrails, recognition sustains both credibility and long-term resilience. Measurement and signals ensure that recognition programs achieve their purpose. Indicators include engagement levels, participation equity, and measurable improvements in flow or quality. For example, if recognition initiatives coincide with reduced rework or earlier risk surfacing, they are delivering value. Metrics also track representation, ensuring inclusivity. Feedback loops gather perceptions of fairness, bias, or unintended effects, refining the program. Measurement ensures recognition does not drift into symbolic activity, but remains a tool for cultural reinforcement and performance improvement. Over time, evidence validates investment, sustaining trust in the program. Recognition succeeds not when it is frequent, but when it demonstrably strengthens culture, collaboration, and outcomes. Guardrails against gaming protect recognition systems from distortion. Rules disallow practices like self-promotion loops, output-only dashboards, or recognition divorced from evidence. For example, automated top committer boards may be retired if they encourage volume over value. Recognition is routed through review and evidence to maintain integrity. Guardrails reassure participants that recognition is fair and principled, not a popularity contest. Over time, this vigilance sustains trust, preventing cynicism. Recognition retains its power only when it feels credible and authentic. Guardrails make sure appreciation reinforces what matters, not what is easy to count. Anti-pattern awareness calls out traps like hero culture, favoritism, and endless awards inflation. Hero culture glorifies individuals while undermining collaboration. Favoritism breeds resentment, while constant awards cheapen meaning. By naming these risks openly, organizations reinforce that recognition is about quiet, specific appreciation tied to principles. Anti-pattern vigilance ensures recognition remains motivating, not divisive. Over time, these corrections keep recognition lightweight, credible, and aligned with outcomes. The system remains trusted and effective, sustaining agile culture without distortion. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Program design ensures recognition efforts remain simple, trustworthy, and lightweight. Overly complex nomination systems or lengthy approval chains discourage participation and turn appreciation into bureaucracy. Effective design provides clear nomination paths, such as a short form or chat integration, paired with lightweight review roles to confirm alignment with criteria. Checklists clarify what evidence is needed, ensuring nominations highlight observable behaviors tied to principles. For example, a nomination might require a brief description of the behavior, its context, and its effect on flow or risk reduction. Reviewers confirm fairness, not polish prose. This simplicity lowers barriers to entry while maintaining integrity. A well-designed program feels accessible to all contributors, not reserved for managers or extroverts. Over time, simple, credible design encourages regular use, embedding recognition into culture. By keeping processes lean and transparent, organizations preserve trust and ensure recognition amplifies real behaviors rather than adding noise. Recognition taxonomy clarifies forms of appreciation, distinguishing thanks, contribution, and impact. Appreciation captures gratitude for support or small but meaningful gestures, such as helping onboard a new teammate. Contribution highlights specific behaviors, such as running a clean rollback under pressure or surfacing a compliance concern early. Impact recognition links behavior to measurable outcomes, such as reducing onboarding time through improved documentation or preventing downtime with proactive monitoring. By differentiating forms, organizations align the recognition format with the evidence available. This prevents overclaiming and keeps recognition grounded in fact. Taxonomy also creates a balanced portfolio. Not every act needs to tie to outcomes, but impact is celebrated when evidence exists. Over time, this structure ensures recognition is neither diluted nor inflated, but proportionate. It helps teams see the spectrum of valued actions, from everyday support to system-shaping contributions, reinforcing agility in all its forms. Embedding recognition into channels and rituals integrates it with normal work rather than treating it as a separate event. Demos can highlight not only completed features, but the collaborative behaviors that enabled them. Retrospectives can include a quick round of appreciations for actions that embodied principles. Planning kickoffs can celebrate contributions from the last cycle that reduced risk or improved flow. By weaving recognition into existing rhythms, teams avoid the fatigue of standalone ceremonies while sustaining visibility. Integration also reinforces that recognition is continuous, not occasional. For example, celebrating an early risk surfaced during a sprint review signals that honesty is valued as much as delivery. Over time, embedding recognition in daily rituals normalizes it as part of professional excellence, not as an add-on. This practice sustains authenticity, frequency, and credibility, ensuring appreciation reinforces agile behaviors as part of the natural cadence of work. Cross-team recognition elevates integrative behaviors that prevent local optimization and hidden cues. Agile systems often falter at interfaces, where one team's efficiency becomes another's bottleneck. Recognizing cross-boundary contributions, such as shared debugging, interface hardening, or joint risk reviews, reinforces the importance of collaboration beyond silos. For example, when two teams coordinate to resolve a production issue together, recognition highlights not only the fix, but the cooperative behaviors that made it possible. Cross-team recognition also reduces competition, building cohesion across the organization. It teaches that agility is measured at the system level, not only at the local level. Over time, this practice strengthens horizontal trust, ensuring that contributors see their work in the context of flow across boundaries. By making cross-team collaboration visible and celebrated, organizations reinforce the idea that system health is everyone's responsibility, not just the domain of isolated teams. A learning repository of recognition stories amplifies their teaching value. Each recognition event capturing context, behavior, and outcome can be logged in decision records, wikis, or playbooks. For example, a story about a clean rollback during an incident can be added to the deployment playbook as a model practice. This repository transforms recognition into institutional learning, turning appreciation into durable assets. It also provides onboarding material, showing newcomers what behaviors are celebrated and why. Stories act as cultural anchors, replayed in training, communities of practice, or leadership talks. Over time, the repository becomes a living narrative of how principles manifest in practice, reinforcing agile values across contexts. By converting recognition into reusable artifacts, organizations prevent lessons from fading and ensure that appreciation feeds continuous improvement. Recognition thus becomes both cultural reinforcement and knowledge capture, multiplying its impact beyond the moment. Role-sensitive examples keep recognition relevant across disciplines. Agile values apply differently to product managers, engineers, designers, risk specialists, and operations staff. By tailoring examples, recognition demonstrates inclusivity and precision. For example, product managers may be recognized for cutting scope responsibly to preserve flow, engineers for surfacing technical debt early, designers for validating assumptions with users, and risk specialists for ensuring compliance without blocking delivery. These examples highlight principle-aligned behaviors specific to each role. They also prevent recognition from clustering around only visible activities, like demos, while neglecting less glamorous but vital work. Over time, role-sensitive recognition builds fairness and breadth, showing that every discipline contributes to agility. It reinforces that values are shared but expressed differently depending on context. This precision ensures recognition is meaningful, equitable, and motivating across the diverse ecosystem of roles required for reliable delivery. Privacy and consent norms protect dignity in recognition. Not everyone wants their name highlighted publicly, and some contributions may involve sensitive contexts. By allowing opt-in visibility levels, organizations respect individual preferences while still capturing the learning value. For example, a contributor may consent to their behavior being anonymized in a story shared broadly, or to private thanks within the team rather than company-wide broadcast. Consent ensures that recognition never feels coercive or performative. Privacy also protects sensitive details, such as compliance incidents, where sanitized narratives can still convey lessons without exposing individuals. By embedding consent, organizations signal respect and inclusivity, ensuring recognition builds trust rather than anxiety. Over time, these norms sustain credibility, showing that recognition is about genuine appreciation, not spectacle. Consent makes recognition a safe, supportive practice, encouraging participation and candor. Vendor and partner inclusion extends recognition across organizational boundaries. Agile systems often depend on external providers, and joint behaviors contribute significantly to reliability. By recognizing partners, whether for honoring SLAs, collaborating on playbooks, or co-resolving incidents, organizations strengthen ecosystems of trust. For example, appreciating a vendor for rapid collaboration during an outage highlights partnership as part of resilience. This inclusion reinforces that agility does not stop at organizational borders. It also encourages reciprocity, building goodwill that accelerates future collaboration. Over time, vendor-inclusive recognition creates cultural alignment across boundaries, making joint work smoother. It also signals fairness internally, as teams see that external contributions are valued alongside their own. By embedding recognition into partner relationships, organizations extend agile values across the full delivery chain, reinforcing system-wide reliability and trust. Reward mechanics, when used, should cap material value and favor experiences or learning opportunities. Tangible rewards can supplement appreciation, but they risk distorting motivation if too large or poorly aligned. For example, offering a learning budget, conference ticket, or cross-team shadowing opportunity reinforces growth and autonomy, aligning with intrinsic drivers. Capping material value prevents jealousy and gaming. Experience-based rewards also extend impact, as recipients bring back insights to the team. By linking rewards to learning, organizations reinforce that recognition is about growth, not vanity. Over time, this design sustains motivation and fairness. Rewards become reinforcing nudges, not controlling levers, ensuring recognition remains principled. By handling mechanics carefully, organizations preserve trust in the system, preventing it from drifting toward output theater or competition that undermines collaboration. Feedback loops keep recognition programs adaptive and credible. Collecting perceptions of bias, workload effects, and clarity of criteria ensures that recognition evolves with context. For example, surveys may reveal whether certain roles feel underrepresented or whether criteria need clarification. Feedback also highlights unintended consequences, such as increased pressure on nominators or resentment from overlooked contributors. By responding to this input, organizations demonstrate that recognition is not static but continuously improved. Transparency in addressing feedback strengthens trust, as participants see adjustments made. Over time, feedback loops sustain fairness, inclusivity, and motivation. They ensure that recognition remains credible, effective, and culturally aligned. Recognition itself becomes an adaptive system, embodying the same principles of reflection and iteration that it seeks to reinforce in delivery. Compliance-aware recognition ensures that sensitive details are handled responsibly. Stories must sometimes omit user data, regulatory details, or names linked to errors. Sanitized narratives still convey behavior and effect without breaching privacy or exposing risk. For example, an incident story may describe, "The team executed a clean rollback within minutes," without naming individuals or customers involved. Compliance-aware design reassures stakeholders that recognition strengthens accountability without creating liability. It also preserves psychological safety, as contributors know they will not be exposed inappropriately. Over time, this discipline normalizes responsible storytelling, balancing transparency with confidentiality. By aligning recognition with compliance, organizations demonstrate that cultural reinforcement and governance are not in conflict but complementary. This alignment ensures recognition programs remain sustainable, trusted, and safe in regulated environments. Renewal cadence keeps recognition programs relevant and prevents drift into ritual. Quarterly reviews revisit what behaviors are being celebrated and whether categories remain meaningful. For example, if recognition drifts toward output counts, categories are pruned or reframed to refocus on principle-aligned behaviors. Renewal also allows fresh examples to replace stale stories, maintaining resonance. Over time, this cadence sustains impact, ensuring recognition remains credible and connected to outcomes. It prevents inflation, where too much recognition cheapens value. Renewal ensures programs adapt as organizational priorities shift, keeping alignment strong. This discipline reinforces that recognition is purposeful, not performative. By pruning and refreshing regularly, organizations ensure that recognition stays impactful, motivating, and culturally authentic. Success definition provides clarity on what recognition initiatives must achieve. True success is not frequency of shoutouts, but evidence of cultural and operational benefits. Indicators include higher participation equity, stronger cross-team help, and measurable improvements in flow or quality. For example, if recognition of early risk surfacing leads to fewer late surprises, success is confirmed. If onboarding accelerates because documentation improvements are celebrated and spread, value is proven. By defining success in outcomes, organizations prevent recognition from becoming vanity. Over time, this discipline sustains investment and credibility. Recognition becomes a lever for real change, not just morale theater. By tying recognition to results, organizations demonstrate that cultural reinforcement produces measurable impact, strengthening both performance and trust. Sustainability practices keep recognition specific, credible, and tied to outcomes over time. Training nominators build skill in articulating behaviors and effects clearly. Rotating reviewers prevents concentration of influence and reduces bias. Refreshing examples ensures relevance, preventing repetition from dulling impact. These practices maintain energy and fairness. Over time, sustainability safeguards trust, preventing recognition from eroding into noise. They also reinforce accountability, ensuring that appreciation remains principled and evidence-based. Sustainability ensures recognition does not burn bright and fade but remains an enduring part of agile culture. By investing in sustainability, organizations protect recognition from the entropy of routine, preserving its motivational and educational power long-term. Recognition synthesis emphasizes that the most powerful cultural reinforcement comes from specific, equitable, outcome-linked appreciation embedded in daily rhythms. Recognition highlights behaviors like early risk surfacing, collaboration, and evidence-based decisions, tying them to improved flow, quality, and resilience. It balances team and individual acknowledgement, empowers peers, and remains inclusive across roles, locations, and partners. Guardrails prevent distortion, while feedback and renewal sustain fairness and relevance. Recognition succeeds not by showering awards, but by embedding gratitude and stories into the cadence of work. Done well, it strengthens trust, reinforces principles, and motivates continuous alignment without distorting outcomes. Recognition becomes less about applause and more about learning, sustaining agile culture through visible, principled reinforcement of what truly matters. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.